Good morning, everyone. You all are coming into the room. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the conference this morning. I am so beyond excited about this conversation. So I'll give everybody just a couple of more seconds to come into the room for the conference, for the kickoff. A very exciting, a very dope kickoff, to say the least. So get a good seat, get your water, get your breakfast, and get ready to dig into an amazing conversation with phenomenal authors. All right, let's get into it. New voices, new rooms, and this morning, my name is Ramunda Young with Mahogany Books in Washington, D.C., and I am beyond ecstatic and excited to chat with three powerhouse authors for a personal discussion of what it means to be Black in America then, now, and in the future. But first, there are a host of people and organizations that made today possible. So please join me in thanking our conference sponsors, HarperCollins, Blackstone, Source Books, Scholastic, Simon & Schuster, Penguin, Random House, and Ingram. So please give it up for those amazing sponsors that help this conference come to be, the NABA conference come to be. And then also we have amazing booksellers that I see coming in the room and industry professionals. Welcome, welcome, good morning. Again, my name is Ramunda Young. 1/3 of the ownership of Mahogany Books here in Washington, D.C. The other 2/3 are my husband, Derek, and our daughter, Mahogany. So it's all a family thing. But booksellers, good morning to you. Please, in the chat, drop a hello, and then shout out your bookstore and where you're located. We'd love to hear and see where all of you are. So in the chat, please just drop a quick hello and shout out your bookstore and where you're located. I see some people, Bard's Alley Bookshop coming in the building there. Awesome, welcome, good morning. Oh, I see you guys coming in, good morning, good morning. East City, our neighbors. So, the panel. When I received the call to moderate this opening, I was actually intrigued when I heard the topic, just for a myriad of personal reasons. But one, when I think of the phenomenal booksellers and book industry leaders that are tuning in, getting a small sense of what it means to be a writer, a Black writer at that, who simply crafts their work from a place of truth, intention, and authenticity, I knew this conversation had to be had. And there, for the second reason I was excited, there's often a hazard that some of us could possess where we see writers as simply this one-dimensional person and negate the rest of who they are as people, as brothers, as sisters, as cousins, as leaders, but just ultimately simply as people. And so this conversation is about seeing them as people, understanding their thoughts and their feelings. And let's be clear, the onus is not on them to speak on behalf of the entirety of Black people, but again, to share their personal thoughts of being Black in America from the past, present, and future perspective. So yes, we'll have three intimate chats, beginning with the amazing Imani Perry, followed up by Jason Reynolds, and then closing out lastly with Sesali Bowen. And we'll finally close out with the entire group for a fun round of rapid fire questions. So yes, good morning. Let's get into it. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna have my little timer on because I wanna make sure each person has the time to really share their thoughts. We have about 8 or 9 minutes with each panelist. So I'm gonna make sure we honor that time. So I'm gonna start it now. So if you hear it buzzing, that's what it is. So let me introduce Dr. Imani Perry. I know she probably prefers just Imani, but you worked hard for that, sis. So Dr. Imani Perry. Imani is an esteemed professor at Princeton and the author of several books, including Looking for Lorraine, The Radiant and Radical Life of Lorraine Hansberry, one of our popular books at Mahogany Books. Her next book, Breathe, A Letter to My Sons. And then also, May We Stand Forever, A History of the Black National Anthem, which was a finalist for the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Literary Nonfiction. Congrats to that. And then her new book that is coming out in January that I cannot wait to read and to get into the hands of our customers is South to America, a journey below the Mason-Dixon line to understand the soul of a nation. And that's a whole other thing we'll chat about, the premise behind their book. And so, Imani, when I think of what it means to be Black in America and reflecting on our past, a lot of your works come from a very historical context, which I love. When I think of your Lorraine Hansberry, to your deep dive into our Black National Anthem, and now your most recent book that's coming out, South to America. What are your thoughts? And this is a big question. What are your thoughts on the importance of retaining our history in our textbooks? Are we making progress there or not? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm thrilled to be here to talk to you all. And as you know, Ramunda, the first time, you may not remember this, but the first time I was in Mahogany Books, I literally wandered around with my mouth wide open and got teary. It's such a beautiful space. And so it's an honor to be speaking to you. I'm a deep lover of bookstores, and particularly independent bookstores. So, so history, textbooks are, very particular genre writing. Like, you get a textbook and you have to tell a concise history, right? And, we want them, there's all these debates over what's included in textbooks. We want them to be richer. We want them to be more robust. But really, it is the other kinds of literature that can give you the deep textured history, right? So you have this frame story of history, and then you delve into stories that are much more complex, right? I think I love when teachers supplement textbooks with other kinds of writings. Because what you get a sense of is, there's a way in which you can tell a very close, intimate story, right? Personal stories. And you can actually find an illumination of history that's deeper than the overview, right? So for me, that's part of the reason I write the way I write, right? I'm trying to tell big stories, but I tell big stories through these intimate encounters, because I think that's how we get moved emotionally. We put history to use for us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. You're right. There are the other texts that really lend itself to shape our thinking, to really get different perspectives. And it is a big question. It is the big topic that's out in the streets right now, the whole critical race theory aspect there. But thank you for sharing that. But as a writer, how do you view your role in shifting our communities and how we see ourselves? And what role, if any, do you think our audience of booksellers play in that shift? We're talking to people who are selling these books, who are recommending books that may not look like them, may not look like whoever. But how, as a writer, how do you view your role in shifting that? And then how do you see our audience of booksellers can play in that shift too?
Well, I'll say, okay, just that's a great question. My immediate thought is, so I was born in Alabama and I moved to my group in Massachusetts. And so I was this kid who was kind of eternally homesick. I don't come from a great migration family. Like, my children are the first generations first kids born north of the Mason-Dixon line. I have a large family. And it was actually bookstores that, kind of created a comfort, right? So when I'm growing up, the bookstores, there's Alice Walker, there's Toni Cade Bambara, there's, Tina McElroy Ansa. There are all of these Black women writers in particular, largely Southern. And my mother would leave me in bookstores and she would run her errands and I would sit on the floor, and it was like being returned to myself. Mm. So I think that role of actually giving us lenses through which not just to interpret the world, but to make sense of who we are and our stories. And I think that's particularly true for African Americans because so much of our story gets distorted in the public. And so I think, the bookstore is a curated space. It is an experience. It's not the same thing as just sort of having a direct, a title that you want and going. I mean, I know people do that in bookstores, but the exploration, it allows you to discover. And so, for me, wanting my books to be in that kind of, in that space that people can encounter in an unexpected way, have something draw their eye, and then feel that they're transformed by something that they didn't even know they were going to encounter, and see themselves through it, either because a story of a very different kind of person resonates or because it speaks your truth, right? So I think really important.
So you see our role is really having a hand in what people choose to read, recommending titles and things of that nature. I love it. Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into this book. You have a powerful book coming out in January titled South to America. Hey, I love it. A journey below the Mason-Dixon line to understand the soul of a nation. And of course, like I said, I can't wait to read it and get into our customers' hands. But tell us a little bit about it and why was it important for you to write this book and write this book now?
Right. So I will say, so I grew up outside of the South, returning constantly and feeling often very frustrated and deeply misunderstood because there was this kind of caricature of the South. It's backwards, it's other, it's scary, and so at first, I have lived this life wanting to redeem the South, right? Knowing its complicated, painful history, but that it's a much, it's not, in fact, and this is sort of the point of the book, it's not this backward other, right? You go on Twitter every time something bad happens in the South, they're like, can we just get rid of that part of the country altogether? And it's the place where the nation begins, wherever you want it, whether you start with Jamestown or you start with, French settlement or Spanish settlement, that's the region. That's the region because that European settlers are captivated by because it is so abundant. There's this idea that there's all this wealth and prosperity available there. And then the way that we do things begins there too, right? So the transatlantic slave trade, our history, right? As the subjects of the transatlantic slave trade, Africans brought in, indigenous people pushed out, and then people ground into a life of absolute devastation, who nevertheless dream and who nevertheless imagine freedom. So that's happening all the while. And the South is actually the source of the prosperity of the nation. The development of Wall Street depended upon the slave trade, upon unfree labor. London Stock Exchange depended upon what was happening in the South. Our capital is in DC because the New England colonies couldn't pay the Revolutionary War debt. They needed the wealth that was produced by unfree labor. Cotton, right, is what was what really makes the United States prosperous. And then it also is sustained. The country is sustained through so much in the South. Oil, right, in Texas, coal in West Virginia, and also, in where I'm from in Alabama. And so it is this like complete mischaracterization to say it's backwards, and it's actually been at the cutting edge. It's shaped every time we buy a soda. Right? Every major soda company comes out of the South. Why? Right? Because of it's sugar as part of the slave economy, right? So the point of the book is to tell a true story about the South, and to tell a story about how the nation depended on it, how our ways of pushing people out and grinding people down and taking advantage of their vulnerability starts there, right? Mm-hmm. And also the possibilities that came through the imagination, right, of the enslaved, of the colonized, of the pushed aside, actually give us the material to reimagine not just the nation, but the world.
This is going to be out of control. Amazing book that so many people need to read. The way you research, the way you go deep into subjects, I know that it's going to blow people's mind, and it's going to reshape how we see things and how we view the South. I'm from Oklahoma, proud of it. I don't know if I'm Midwest or South, but it's always confusing in here. But
it was satellite of the South in so many ways, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I can't wait for people to read that. But that is our time already. I had some more questions I wanted to get into, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for getting us as book industry leaders and readers excited about your work. And then also the role that we can play in getting this work and help out to the communities and helping to shift the narrative. We have a role in that too. So thank you for sharing that with us this morning. Next up, we have getting my timer together. Next up, we have one of Washington, D.C.'s favorite writers and a dear friend of us here at Mahogany Books. We have the dynamic Jason Reynolds. So Mr. Reynolds, please join us on the stage here.
I'm here.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome.
Let me tell you, Ramunda, I know y'all probably was like, why Jason acting all funky in the green room? Let me tell you something. I woke up this morning, my coffee maker was broken.
Oh.
And I am so angry. I'm having a rough morning.
You haven't started, you didn't get to start it off right.
Oh my God. All right, I'm ready.
You
Hi,
here?
Imani. Hi, Sesali. Hi, Imani. And they're like, why you acting like that? I love y'all, man. I'm one of them people, you know what I mean?
That's all right, we got our thing. But I'm gonna introduce you. Jason is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a Newbery Award honoree, a Prince Award honoree, 2-time National Book Award finalist, a Kirkus Award winner, a Carnegie Medal winner, a 2-time Walter D. Meyer Award winner, an NAACP Image Award winner, and the recipient of multiple Coretta Scott King honors. He's also the 2020-2021 National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. The man is a dope poet who can also drop bars, which I'm excited about. But you are soon releasing the latest of your many books, Stunt Boy. In the meantime, good morning and welcome to our friend Jason Reynolds. How you doing without your cup of coffee?
I'm making it. I'm here. You know what I mean?
Well, let's get into your part here. So when we're talking about the subject of Black past, present, and now, when I think of where we are now as a nation, and you being an author of everything young people, so to speak, what concerns you most about our young Black people right now?
You know, it's such a good question. Here's what I'll say first and foremost. I don't think about young Black people in that way. Right. So like, I think, so the question is complicated for me a little bit just because my focus on young Black people isn't one of concern, right? It's one of celebration, right? Like I'm always trying to figure out how to make sure that they understand that we already exist in the place of abundance, that we exist in the place of surplus, that we are more than equipped and more than adequate, more than proficient in all the ways, despite some of the physical challenges and resource challenges that we may have in some certain instances. So if I had to answer the question, if I had to figure out what might be something that is sort of a bit of a stick in my craw, I think it's just making sure that they understand that when I talk about, like, and this is exactly what Imani was just talking about, right? When we talk about imagination, what we're truly talking about is boundlessness. Right, boundlessness here first, right? Like a boundlessness here. And I think my goal in my story specifically is to show a freedom within oneself, right? The freedom to cry, especially for little Black boys, right? The freedom to cry, the freedom to feel, the freedom to be afraid, the freedom to be happy, to be joyous, to be loud, right? To be all those, to be big, right? And I think if we can continue to convince them of that freedom, then perhaps their imaginations will actually know no bound. And the reason why this is something that is really interesting to me is because I think what young people understand right now is that their imaginations can be commodities. Their imaginations are actually the very thing that shifts culture around the world. But the only hiccup is that their imaginations exist within a framework that they did not build. And so what I'm trying to get them to understand is that it's not just like when they give us lemons or when life gives us lemons, we make lemonade and lemon meringue pie and, you know, lemon tart and lemon cookies and lemon rinds for medicine, right? What I'm trying to get them to understand is like when life gives us lemons, we plant lemon seeds and grow lemon trees. Right? That's a very different thing. And then we give ourselves lemons to do what we want with. Right? That's what I want them to see more than anything right now.
Powerful. And it is shifting how but you know what, Jason, it's shifting how we see ourselves too.
Absolutely.
In the whole construct. And, you know, that's a whole other conversation, but I love that that's the energy that you're putting out. That's the energy and the intention that you want us to all walk away with as readers, as community, as Black people, as people to see that. So also, one of my questions is, as a writer who just gets to show up as a proud Black man, no matter where you are or who you're with, how do you get to stay centered? How does Jason Reynolds stay centered in all of this that's here? Good, amazing, that's happening. And then the things that just keep it real, that is not so amazing. How do you stay centered in that place?
You know what? I'm around my people all the time. I don't, if you don't see me in the street, which nobody ever does, I'm with the same friends I grew up with. I'm at my mama's house. I'm with my siblings. I'm with the people who actually know me in real life, the people who who are not who don't look at me as a writer, but who look at me as a person, right? A man, a son, a brother, a friend. And I think those are the folks who remind me that, like, you know, I would say what they really say, but it's probably inappropriate. But you know, you ain't that much, bruh. Like, you know what I mean? And I think it's important that we got those people around us to remind us that. And I told you this, you and I had a conversation about this a little while ago, right? I reject the notion of exceptionalism unless we're going to look at all of us as exceptional, right? Now, if we're all exceptional, then cool. But I don't want to be plucked out. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it's cool. I'm not interested in being sort of plucked out as an exceptional person or an exceptional anything for that matter, because I am one of the lot, and I was one that was protected to be given this opportunity. I was one that was shielded, and you know, I was the one that they said, like, Jay, this ain't for you. You go and do your writing thing, you know. But my friends and family members who didn't quite get here are no different than I'm cut from that, and I think that constantly sort of keeps my feet on the ground, and it allows me to move how I want to move. And I also want to say one more quick thing before we move on is my ability to move through the world as a Black man unapologetically, and the way that I choose to do so also has a lot to do with the fact that I am a man. Mm-hmm. And it would be unfair and disingenuous for me to not at least mention that there is some nuance there, because I got homegirls who do their best to move through the world as themselves as well, but they're not praised for it, right? If anything, they're admonished for it. And so I want to be clear that some of this also has to do with the fact that I am a man and I present as a man, and America praises men in a very different way.
I want to go deep, but I got 2 minutes.
No.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being surrounded by the people who know Jason, who knows Jay for who he is, and how that impacts how you show up in the spaces that you walk into. A lot of people don't see that. We have so much veneer in front of us that we never get to the crux of who that person is. And you, ever since I've known you, it's been about 15 years or so. You've been same.
This is it.
This is it, right? So a little bit about your book in the last couple of minutes. So I'm excited about Stump Boy in the meantime, and all the young people who will read it. So what was the inspiration behind it? And then what do you want people to walk away with once they finish Stump Boy?
Changing family dynamic. So, like, here's the thing. I think that, you know, unfortunately, there are a lot of young, myself included. I grew up with 10 boys, and all of us came from families that had gone through divorce or didn't have married parents, or daddy was gone, or mama was gone, or, you know, whatever was going on in all these different families. I don't call them broken homes because I don't believe that they've made broken people. I just think that they're different family dynamics, right? And I wanted to write a book about a young man who's going through this, with his parents are sort of separating, and he's trying to figure out what this means for his life, without it being a heavy book. And the reason why, honestly, is because I don't think that my mother didn't do that good of a job. As much as I love her, I think it was difficult for her to figure out how to find the language and how to access the vocabulary to help me work through it when it was happening to us when I was a 10-year-old. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do I write something for the little youngins who are going through it right now and trying to understand what it means for them, and for the parents who might need a little extra resource to be like, let's read this together so that we can better understand what is happening with our shifting family. That's it. Right. And on top of all of that, it's funny and it's fun and it's light and it's, you know, all the other, and it's beautiful. You know what I mean? Here it is. It's gorgeous. You know what I mean? So that's it.
Yeah, that's plenty. That's a lot. That's good. That's needed. Just giving us language and giving us feelings, a space to really acknowledge those feelings going through something like that. So thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. Thank you for the time. I didn't get all my questions with you either. We know we're doing like a round time here, but thank you. Appreciate you, Jason, always.
Love, man. Love for sure.
Thank you. Next, and certainly not least, hey, there she is, Miss Sesali Bowen, seasoned author, a seasoned writer, debut author. And let me get into your bio a little bit too. Sesali is a writer who curates events, writes for film and television, and creates elevated pop culture correspondence. Sesali is the former senior entertainment editor at Nylon magazine, and also senior entertainment writer at Refinery 29. Her new book is Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trap Feminist. So please help me give it up for Miss Sesali Bowen. Good morning, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I also wanted to echo what Imani was saying. I used to work at Borders for many years when I was in college. So This feels so full circle and amazing to be here. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I think of the future, here we are with this topic, past, present, and future, and what it means to be Black in America. When I think of future and our millennials and our iGen and those other groups, you are right there in the midst of all of them. But so many labels are put on us as we navigate our own, intersectionality. What has been the most eye-opening part of your journey where you realized, I'm just going to be me, no explanation needed?
I think it was actually my transition into what is traditionally called women's media. So I'm from Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago, on the South Side. And I think that, and I've always lived in Black cities. So I started to move around a little bit right after college. So I moved to DC. But it was back in 2012. It was being gentrified, but it was still a little bit of Chocolate City, Then I went to grad school in Atlanta, but then I moved to New York, right? And New York, New York it's a bunch of Black folks in New York, but it's definitely a different kind of cultural experience. And when I entered this field of women's media, it was the first time, and I think that this was, some of my own naivete, if you will, but it was the first time I realized that there were Black folks who weren't in community with Black folks, folks who were kind of the opposite of what Jason was just talking about. He was, and that was, and it was no, I didn't think that there was anything good or bad about that. But what I started to notice was that I was very much so expected to be showing up as a person who was very separated from my Blackness as I understood it as a Black girl, and the very specific type of Blackness that, for me, I grew up in the hood, and so I was expected to show up as a different part of myself. All of a sudden I was supposed to, I don't know, get a white boyfriend in Bushwick or something. I don't know. But for me, it was very eye-opening to be in these spaces that were also read as feminist, where I was feeling so much pressure to not be who I was. And I am a very rebellious spirit, but I'm also just, I don't know how to do that. I don't. And I also knew that my writing journey was very much attached to my experiences, and who I was. And it was the way in which I was always unafraid to write about who I was that gave me a kind of distinct voice. I think in a space that had been very much so whitewashed. And so I really was unable to do that. And I think that I realized pretty early on that it was just kind of better for everyone if I didn't try.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just not try to conform to anything. This is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be. And then
also, conforming is also a very privileged, you have to be in a space of privilege to even do that in certain ways. Not only am I a Black girl, I'm a fat Black girl. I'm also, I speak how I speak, I don't come from a lot of money. So, I can't, there are a lot of ways, there were also a lot of ways in which I just couldn't, even if I wanted to, because I will always be read as kind of like other. So I think that's a really important distinction to make too.
Mm-hmm. And so when thinking about that in your book, your debut book, Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trap Feminist. So It comes out next Tuesday, Sesali. So congratulations, shout out to you about that. And so you coined the term, if I understood correctly, the term trap feminist. Mm-hmm. How do you define it? I know it's in the book, but how do you define that? Because I want people to kind of think about that. And then also, if it's something new to them, to understand it. And as, again, the audiences of booksellers, how do they put this book into people's hands?
Right.
We need people to read it. Your story is powerful. Your voice is powerful. Your perspective is powerful. Yeah. So how do you define trap feminism?
So trap feminism essentially is a framework that not only defines, but also helps to make sense of the two things that are happening at once. where on the one hand, we have this culture that is very much so obsessed with the exports of Black girlhood, right? So, you know, everybody loves the braids, everybody loves to wear the colorful weave, everybody loves the long nails, everybody loves to twerk, you know, it's fun, it's great, you know, where everybody loves hot girl summer, everybody loves city girls, and, you know, everybody wants, you know, a big butt or whatever the kind of very aesthetic and cultural, whether it's language, whether it's fashion, whether it's culture, we are in this era where we are very obsessed with those kind of very like material exports. But on the other hand, we have folks like Breonna Taylor who are dead, okay, and no longer with us, because folks do not actually value the experiences or voices or actual lives of the Black women who make all of those aforementioned things pop, right? And so it was very important for me to have some type of framework to conceptualize how we're lit over here, and we're also lit over here, but that we needed to beef up what we were hearing from, you know, in terms of the experiences of Black girls. And I think it started though, you know, conceptually, you know, when I first uttered the word trap feminism, I didn't sit down and start writing a book. You know, it was over 10 years ago. I think it started back then with trap music itself, which is such an integral point of, you know, obviously this project. And it was really a way for me to start thinking about how women were showing up in trap music. Trap music was often like, you know, labeled as like, you know, just this space of like misogyny and objectification and, you know, it was kind of lowbrow hip hop. But I was really curious about like, okay, but like we know that there are women in the trap though. And like, who are they? And like, what roles do they play in this community, in this ecosystem, in this economy, in the lives of these people, in the lives, you know, how do they make, you know, this world go round? And it started there and then eventually just started to evolve. And getting to the book part of it was when I noticed that we were having this full circle moment. We have this huge surge of female rappers. We have this, who are really kind of, to be honest, if you ask me, I think that, you know, the class of female rappers that we have right now are the most kind of like visible example of trap feminism that exists, because they can speak to it from one perspective and one point of view as artists. And so that's kind of a quick overview of kind of the journey of trap feminism from then to where it is now. But that's essentially what it is. It's a way to understand Black girls as more than ideas, and hood Black girls in particular, because again, you know, I think, you know, some of the Black women that are often paraded around are examples of kind of, you know, exceptionalism and assimilation that are also cool, but I was trying to do something different.
You did it. Your book had me like in the beginning page, it's like, ooh.
You know, it's a little spicy. Some people will clutch their pearls, you know.
I was clutching something. You know, I'm closer to 50 than I am 40, but you know what? Your book is needed. Your voice is needed. I know I said that earlier, but there are so many of us in our communities and beyond are going to gravitate to this book. And there's people who are like, is she talking about? And it'll be a peek into what that really means, what trap feminism really means. It'll be a peek into that. And I think people need to know it's my timer, when it comes into books, that this is a space you can read this in the privacy of your own home, whoever you are, whatever you look like, and learn and grow and have your eyes widen to something, a different experience that may not have anything to do with you, but you need to know that we exist.
Right.
And that's what I love about your book. And I can't wait to I can't wait to have it on our shelves in our store too. So thank you for that. Congratulations. Next Tuesday is your book birthday. I'm bringing my clappers because I'm excited for you celebrating it. Yes.
My book is a Libra.
Yeah, right. Yes, it is. I love it. But thank you, Sesali, for your time. And now I would like to welcome all of the authors back. We just have a few minutes left and I want to honor that time. But if I can have you all back, thank you again to all of you who just shared space with us. Quick space. I just feel like it was so fast. Quick space this morning to kind of chat. And again, to all the booksellers in the room and bookstores and book representatives that are in the room who are here to kind of get a glimpse into this conversation. But I just want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank everybody who is here with their coffee, those who didn't get their coffee, to help kick off the 2021 NABA conference. And then special thank you to both the NABA and SIVA teams, especially Eileen Dangler and Linda Marie Barrett. Just a quick shout out and hands up for them. And then to our amazing authors, Amani Perry, Jason Reynolds, and Sesali Bowen. Just continued success to each of you. But really quick, before we get into our round robin of questions, I want to make sure that the audience here does not log off. This is the main back channel for the entire conference today. So you want to make sure you stay on here for other programming. And then actually what's coming up next, I invite you to tune into the next presentation, which is Music and Mystery with Brendan Slocum. Classical musician and debut author Brendan Slocum will play violin, then discuss the inspiration for his novel, The Violin Conspiracy, which is about a Black classical musician whose family heirloom violin is stolen on the eve of the most prestigious classical music competition in the world. So you'll want to stay put for this one. So anyway, let's get into this round robin in the last couple of minutes. So we're gonna start with Imani, then go to Jason, and then Sesali as we answer these questions. So really quick, don't think about it too hard. Who was your favorite author? Let me hear it. Who was that?
Oh goodness, I can't answer that. I mean, Morrison is the easy answer, but there's hundreds of people. I just love books. I don't have a favorite.
I understand.
I love our tradition. I'll say it that way.
I said, come on, Ramunda, that's wild.
People ask me that all the time as a bookseller. I'm like,
My favorite author today, at this particular time, is Jasmine, for sure. Today. Yeah.
Let's see, I would say right now, well, one of my favorite writers is this woman named Asha French, who is just phenomenal. But I think I would say Toni. I know that's the easy answer, but I mean, when you the Beyonce of it, you just the Beyonce of it, you know.
And that's what it is.
No easy answer. What comes to mind when you hear the word Black?
Me?
You.
You said beauty. I thought you were saying me. I was like,
Me
oh,
too, right? Me too.
Black, joy.
Sesali.
The first thing that came to my mind was period, but like, no, I think I would say, you know, folks, people,
Gotcha.
I don't know, like that is humanity for me. It's Black folks, so.
That's good. Who's your favorite hip hop artist or group? That's what I want to know. Who is it for you, Imani?
I'll go first. Oh, sorry.
Sesali ready? Go ahead, Sesali. Go ahead. Favorite hip hop song or group? Who you got?
Nas, Trina, Gucci Mane, and Megan Thee Stallion.
Gotcha.
As a group.
Right, all together.
Favorite group is Outkast, hands down.
Exactly. Favorite group is Outkast also. And favorite artist is probably like a tie between Jay and Latifah.
Okay, Latifah. Okay, Imani, what about you?
Rakim and 3 Stacks.
Okay. Got it. Favorite food? What you like? What's your favorite food?
Snapper.
Questions, we got like questions. Oh, say that again.
Red snapper.
Red snapper. Okay, red snapper.
Oh, word up. For me, is also between a snapper and a bronzino. Whole, head on, tail on.
Yes.
Sure.
Mine is a 6-piece with mild sauce, lemon pepper fried heart from Harold's.
Chicago's finest.
Period.
What comes to mind when you think of George Floyd? Imani or Jason?
Mama.
I just think he should be here.
Yeah, I feel like I'm supposed to cuss right now. That's all I'm saying about that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I got it.
Yeah.
What does love mean to you? When you think of love, what does it comes to mind?
Space for me. Space. Just give me the space to kind of be and figure out who it is. Like, if you love me, give me a little space to figure it out. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think, I think for love, I think life, I mean, because, trying to move with love and grace is sort of that's the thing that's life sustaining for me. And I think that's even Floyd, because whenever I think of George Floyd, I think of hearing him call for his mama, and how we move through so much heartbreak and tragedy is through the love and grace, right? Holding each other.
Mhm.
Love for you, Sesali?
Yeah, I think love for me is acceptance and very soft acceptance. I would also probably echo, the idea of space and freedom, to really let the subject of the love form.
Got it. I don't want to assume the answer to this. Sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie?
Sweet potato pie. It's not close.
What? Now, why would you even ask that?
Not close.
Why would you even ask that?
We're not a monolith, sis. We're not a monolith.
Nah, we a monolith on this one.
Now, what you should have asked is what we put on our grids, because then that's what we can take this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yes. But I didn't hear Amani, what did you say? I want to make sure I'm not overlooking.
What about sweet potato pie? Yes. Yeah, no, you could ask a question, like a real question would be sweet potato pie or cobbler, or that's a question.
I want to say, guys, sweet potato pie, I'm with y'all. I know we got one more minute left, gone over a little bit, but
white folks are so confused right now. They're like, what do you mean?
Hey, wait a minute, Jason. I've seen some posts where people go hard in the paint for pumpkin pie. And I'm like, who are these people? But I give people space. I love them. I give them
There you go.
Hey. Yeah, I'm a sweet potato pie all day. So that's a different conversation. But last question is, two questions. What would your superpower be? Real quick, superpower.
Visibility.
Visibility? Invisibility?
Yeah, invisibility.
Helping
other people find their superpower.
Oh, that's beautiful. I don't know. I mean, I would like, so kind of like, the beauty pageant answer, but I would like to be able to heal the world, right? I mean, I would like to be able to give people a soft way to be and landing in this world, right? Yeah.
You probably do that already, though. That's like your superpower already. You know what I mean?
No, I really do.
No doubt.
Last one, I'm sliding this in. When you think of Mahogany Books, what you think?
Best bookstore in the world.
It's amazing.
In the whole world. Like all the DC bookstores, like, Jason, don't bring your black ass in any of our bookstores no more. If you going
That is not true. Not true. Not true. Not true.
Can I say really quickly, because the feeling I had when I went into Mahogany Books for the first time was like being in Chicago in childhood and going to Haki Madabuti's bookstore, where you like walk in and feel love for us. That's really precious.
No doubt. Shout out to all the bookstores.
I was gonna say, it is all the bookstores. All of us have a space and a slice and creating an experience for so many people that walk through our doors. So we're just one of so many dynamics. Well, that's all. Cecily, did you have anything? You haven't been to Mahogany Books just yet. So
it's on the list. Now that I know where it is, I'm actually in DC all the time. I live in Jersey, so I'm down there all the time. My sister lives there, so it's on the list. I want to bring my nephew in.
So many bookstores you'll hit up in DC. So many amazing ones. But thank you all for the time. Thank you for all the book sellers, bookstores, book people, industry leaders on this morning to help us kick off the amazing NABA conference. Again, stay on. We have Brendan Slocum next. Jason, Imani, Sesali. Thank you. Good morning. Take care.
Thank you. Congratulations, Sesali.
Thank you.